It is championship weekend for NASCAR. It is currently Saturday morning, November 11th. Truck Series finale was last night. I am so glad that Corey Heim got it done. Crazy way for him to do it. They decided to take 4 tires. Bunch of guys took 2, and then it was immediately known from turn 1. He was able to go all the way to the inside wall, 7 wide, and he passed pretty much everybody but Majeski. Then got a caution. Um, I'll tell you what, they went into turn 3 and I saw them crashing, and I was just yelling at my screen, put it out, put it out, put it out. Like, they better press that button before they take the white flag. And they did, so I was happy about that, because then once they restarted again, it was clear that 4 tires was what the rest of those guys should have done if they had wanted a chance at it. So well-deserved champion Corey Heim broke a bunch of records. He broke the win record, and he even broke the laps led in a season record, which that record had stood since 1996. That season was a 24 race season to this year's 25, but I mean, no one has dominated like Heim did this season since then, so I think it's fair. It's just one extra race. So, but today is Xfinity, soon to be O'Reilly. There have been a few new rules announced this morning regarding Cup drivers and 17-year-old drivers overall. So Cup drivers who have been in Cup 3 or more years, are going to be able to run 10 O'Reilly races next year, up from 5, and 8 truck races, up from 5. They still can't run cutoff or playoff races, etc. So basically they can run like during the regular season. And then for 17-year-olds, it used to be 17-year-olds could only run tracks under a mile. They've adjusted that to where now they can run tracks under 1.25 miles, and they can also run road courses. So there's actually a list up on Joseph Shrigley's Twitter. He put all 15 tracks that those guys are able to run at for next year. So you, as a 17-year-old, you can now run about half the O'Reilly schedule. So that's pretty cool. Try to get some of these kids in a little quicker. I think the cars are safe enough to do so now. So they shouldn't be too concerned about those kids getting hurt. Just don't slip out of your car like Silich when you celebrate, and you'll be all right. So that's all the NASCAR news, really. So I want Silich tonight, and then I want Hamlin tomorrow. I'll be okay with Briscoe or Byron tomorrow. Just I don't want to see Larson win another one. Not yet. He can get another one eventually, but not this year. I really want to see Denny get one. Maybe retire on top. Even though he's got another year, he could retire on top if he wants to. But this is episode 25 of Who's That Driver? I'm your host, Zach Rogers. We finally got to 25. I know it's been a bit sporadic, but it be like that. And I'm joined today by Joshua Mercurio, who I've known for a few years. Josh, how we doing today?
I'm doing good. I didn't know about that NASCAR news, so that's interesting. That they're expanding the amount of Cup drivers that are going to be racing in the lower series. I think we all agree that those young guys need some mentors to reel in that aggression that they've got. So that's going to be good. But other than that, man, I'm enjoying life and racing all the time, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that draws in some sponsors too, because I think I have heard in the past that they said the Cup drivers usually draw a little more sponsorship for the lower series, and it's cheaper to sponsor too. So I think that'll help them, field some extra cars. You might see more Leach cars out of teams like Richard Childress and maybe Gibbs, because I don't believe they don't have a limit down in Xfinity, though most teams don't bother going over 4 anyway. I think JRM's the only one who they do like the 5th car, like 10 races or so in the year, so that might fuel that a little bit more, which will be cool to see. Um, Xfinity has always felt like it's just the 3 teams now: Junior, Gibbs, uh, Haas, I guess, and then Sieg's team has been good here and there. We'll see if they get any better since Haas is leaving Ford. But yeah, I mean, next year looks like it could be some good fun. But we still got 2 more
Yeah,
races this year to go through. Any
I
picks
think
for
one of
you for the last 2 races?
oh Well, before we do that, I think one of the things that people don't really talk about when they talk about the Cup drivers being in the lower series is when they show up and they dominate one of those races, it also adds to their star power. And I think that's one of the things that we know that we're missing in the sport. So like seeing Kyle Busch show up and, sweep Bristol, that adds to that star power, and that's something that we need. But for this weekend, for the rest of the weekend, first off, that move by Corey Heim was insane. I always we show up at Phoenix and it's one of the newer versions. I'm always trying that move down there, take it five wide and see how many positions I make up, and it's always a net negative for me. So, when I saw him get down there, I was like, oh, well, that'll be fun. Goodbye championship. And then we get out of turn two and yeah, pretty much championship one. So pretty amazing move. Hopefully we'll see stuff like that the rest of the weekend. Um, for tonight, for Saturday, I think, Zilich is probably the favorite, but I wouldn't count out Allgaier. I think we know
Absolutely
he's
not. Yeah.
fast. Yeah, he's fast to Phoenix, and they say the veterans can handle the nerves better. So my pick for tonight is Allgaier, and then yeah, I want to see Denny win it on Sunday. I wouldn't be surprised if the 24 shows up and is unbeatable, but my hope is the 11 car finally gets it.
Yeah, and we'll have to see where they qualify. They qualify later today. Xfinity qualifying's at 3:30 and Cup is at 5. So a late day again on the on-track activity side. When I looked at practice, it looked like Denny had good speed in practice, but qualifying will really matter. I will say I am a little concerned on the Cup side. I saw one tweet that said it could be related to ambient temperature, but they had like 5 or 6 cars suffer from like left side flats, and I think the majority of them were on the left rear. So they were saying it could have been ambient temperature related. I'm not really sure, but hopefully they just pump those tire pressures up like another pound, and maybe they can mitigate that because they do run really low on the left sides these days with the next gen. Because the last thing you want is a tire problem Sunday. So
Yeah. Well, the other thing is they've also just got so much more practice this weekend than they normally do, and so I'm sure all of us are freaking out a little bit, but that's one of the things that happens when you give them an extra, or you triple the amount of time that they're going to practice over the weekend. They're going to open up the box and do some weird stuff and maybe have a flat or two.
yeah,
So I'm not really surprised by some issues with the cars over the practice sessions.
yeah. And to go back to your point about power, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we saw Larson at Homestead. I think it was this spring. Just completely crushed them in Xfinity. I mean, if that race didn't have stages, he probably would have lapped the whole field, which
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
something we haven't seen in a long time. Back in like the 70s, 80s, it was very common to only have like anywhere from 3 to 7 cars finish on the lead lap. Heck, back then in the 70s, especially, that you would win a race by 1 to 2 laps. Sometimes guys won by like 4 laps at like Bristol. Um, they didn't have good reliability on a lot of cars back then, and they always would have random problems and stuff like that. So I mean, it used to be very common. So now the gap's obviously way more tight. But it would be funny if like they had an Xfinity race where like someone was able to maybe lap the field or get really close to it. But the stages kind of get in the way of that.
Yeah, that's true. But that's a whole other issue.
Yeah. Well, so let's get into you a little bit. We'll stay on the motorsports side, and then we'll get into some NR 2003 stuff. But so first, I got to ask what got you into motorsports, who your first favorite driver was, who it is now, if it's changed. Obviously, for me, it's been 28 years, so a lot of guys have come and gone, and then your favorite form of motorsports.
Yeah. So I probably started watching racing. I grew up in the NASCAR family. We went to more Daytona 500 parties than Super Bowl parties. So I was pretty lucky, but growing up in a NASCAR family, I was a hardcore Dale Jr. fan. And so I had all the 8 merch, red hats, red shirts, that sort of thing. Um, and I think our family started not or started moving away from watching NASCAR around 2008 or 9. I remember probably the last Daytona 500 party I ever went to was the year where Dale Jr. wrecked Vickers on the
Oh,
backstretch. Uh, um, and that was pretty bad because everybody was like, "Oh, he's kind of trash now. You should probably figure out a different driver to root for." And I was pissed, and so we stopped really watching. Um, we just had other things to do on the weekends. We stopped buying season tickets to go to Chicagoland, probably because of money troubles, that sort of thing. Um, And so we slowly shifted away from NASCAR, but I still loved racing. And so I ended up picking up Formula One because at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm the one who has control of the TV because no one else is awake. So I could turn on Formula One and no one would bother me. So I started watching Formula One around 2012. So I say I watched it before it was cool, before they had the Netflix series. And that's pretty much how I got into sim racing too, is sort of playing the Formula One games and that sort of thing. But now that I've shifted back to NASCAR, mostly because I've been playing the game, actually, I think my favorite driver probably is Denny Hamlin. I just like all the Toyota guys. It's going to be rough when Denny leaves. I'll probably follow the 2311 guys. I mean, Reddick and Bubba are cool. So, but right now I'm all in, right?
yeah. Yeah, I heard Reddick finally shaved that awful looking mullet. they
Oh,
were
come on. The mullet was cool.
they were joking
It,
with him on Door Bumper Clear. They're like, "Yeah, he finally shaved that mullet." We kept telling him that's why he wasn't winning any races. I was like, "Man, get
yeah,
on
it's
him."
an extra 2 pounds, man. Like that, the weight matters somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know if it mattered much for Reddick. He weighs probably 105 soaking wet.
That's true. That's true. He's a tiny guy.
But yeah, I mean personally too, like Denny's kind of become one of my favorites. Sometimes I don't agree with him, but like that's what I feel like draws me towards him more is because like a lot of times I'll agree and then other times I'm like, "Nah, Denny, that's dumb." Like, "Come on, man." And that so but it's cool cuz Kyle's been really quiet. KB, love
Yeah.
Kyle Busch, but he's just been so quiet because it's been a down year for him and that team, so you haven't really heard much from him, but I'll definitely be a Brexton fan when Brexton comes up. But I think, primarily for me, it looks like I'm going to be mostly like a Trackhouse fan for the near future because I've liked Ross for years. I like
Mhm.
SVG and like I like Silich is super cool. So those are going to be my boys for the years to come because Denny and KB they probably got however much they got left. I don't know how stubborn KB is going to really want to be. Going 2 years now without a win. I mean, Richard Petty went like 7, but that was Richard Petty. So, these guys now, they go like 20, 25 years in Cup, and they're like, yeah, that's good enough. So, I mean, 25 ish for KB would be like 2029, I think, would be like a good last year for him. And I think by then Brexton would be old enough to start running truck races, so he could just go run trucks for a year or two or something. But yeah, I don't know
I don't
what
know
really
how.
goes through KB's head. He's pretty quiet.
Yeah, I don't know how long his contract with RCR is, but I could see him being one of those guys where if he doesn't have a competitive ride to hop into, then he he didn't doesn't
Yeah,
want to race.
he. So they picked up the option in May because it was an option year, and I mean I think the main reason he picked it up is because there's really nowhere to go. I mean the only ride that's changing, to my knowledge, is the 7, which they announced Suarez is going to go in, and Haley's now going to go run trucks for Colleague, help that program start out on the truck side with
Mhm.
the Ram thing and
Mhm.
everything. So there really wasn't another ride other than they kicked out Suarez for Silich, which was I feel like I saw that coming a year ago.
Yeah.
And then Haley wasn't performing, so okay, well they're gonna kick him out because Spire I think is mostly like a 1 year deal kind of team, other than maybe McDowell who got that multi-year deal. So there really wasn't anywhere to go. But next year there's going to be a ton of openings. So I think, you could see KB go somewhere. I don't know where that would maybe be. I think he'd be, if he could try to get back on Gibbs or go to Hendrick, if Hendrick would consider him. I don't know if they would or not. But I feel like he needs to go somewhere other than RCR to have his last uh, 2 or 3 years, unless
Yeah.
he's ready to just hang it up. I don't know. He might be sick of it at this point.
Yeah. I think on the Hendrick side, the 48 will probably be open, right?
Probably. I
I
don't
think
know if.
Bowman's probably the weakest link there. I don't know how committed Hendrick is to Bowman.
Yeah,
Because I know he's got a great sponsor or a great relationship with the sponsor, and that keeps him in that ride when he's having bad times like he is right now. Um, but I'm sure any sponsor would jump on the opportunity to be on
a
Kyle
Hendrick
Busch's
car.
car
Yeah.
at a return to Hendrick. I think that would be a sponsor's dream. Uh,
Yeah, and I think too, like the one thing that's worth looking at is Spire is technically Hendrick B team right now. So like if Hocevar were to pop off next year, win a few races, doesn't crash the car that much, Bowman wins maybe one race or doesn't win a race, or depending on the format, doesn't go playoff deep. Like I feel like Hocevar could take that seat at Hendrick since that's basically like almost like a pipeline team now. Um, Otherwise, I don't really know where KB would want to go. I think KB would maybe be more content going to 2311 now if they're still around, because when
yeah.
when it was in conversation of, oh, go to 2311 or RCR, 2311 wasn't like as continuously good yet. I think if KB could do it over, maybe he would have just gone to 2311, because I think they've proven that they're in a better spot. He could also go to Legacy, which would be like a weird move, but Legacy has shown flashes of speed, so wouldn't be the worst option for him. Otherwise, I don't really know where he would go. Um, I don't think he would go to Penske because I don't think he wants to be teammates with Logano.
No,
So I'm not
no.
really sure where else he would maybe consider to go, but you never know. Sometimes crazy things happen.
Yeah. Does 2311 they have three charters, technically, right?
Technically, they do. Technically, they don't.
Yeah.
The whole lawsuit makes things all kind of funny.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that. I, I mean, ugh, the lawsuit's crazy. I think they probably should have figured out a way to go through mediation and get what they wanted. But now that this is all going into public record, I think it's going to tarnish a couple of reputations.
Oh, did you see they released how much the teams have been making money or not making money with the charters? That came out this week.
Yeah, it was
And
like
it's bad. Like they're either barely making money or they're losing money.
I think the number was around
It's like 20
like
million, 10 to
200,
20 million, something like that.
well, 20 million a year, but I think that per race, if as long as you don't win it and you get like some extra prize money, but it was around like $200,000 a race.
Yeah,
And we
it's
know
bad.
that the price tag on those cars is 300,000. And so if you go to Daytona or Talladega and you know that that car is going to be junk when you leave, you already know that you're going to lose money when you show up to those races, and that's not including the travel and paying the whole team and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
And then that's why you see a lot of teams, they got a different sponsor on the car every week because nobody wants to pay 10 million for a season. They used to be able to pay 1 million for a season, and they can't do that anymore. That's why you've had all these big name sponsors that were around forever. They've all left. You've seen Target leave, you've seen FedEx leave.
yeah,
Give me
and the sponsors that are
Lowe's.
sticking
Lowe's
around,
left.
yeah, the sponsors that are sticking around are the ones that can provide benefits beyond just like a cash injection to the business. So like you see the Hendrick cars have these insurance uh sponsors, and that's helping out Hendrick with his auto dealerships and um I can't even remember what else is on there. But
Some of
DuPont,
them
I
are
mean,
also
they also are.
loyalty
Yeah, that's
induced if you
true.
think about it. Like Penske's had Pennzoil Shell for a long time now.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Hendrick still gets Exalta, which is, was formerly DuPont in a way. I think it's a subsidiary or whatever they call it. Um, and then Bass Pro, I mean, they've always been loyal to whoever they get as a driver. Like Johnny Morris tries to keep that his stuff on the car for the full year. I mean, that was what Briscoe's deal was this year. Full year with Bass Pro. So because a lot of cars don't have that brand identity anymore. That's another problem. So if they were, there's a lot of issues from what that stuff that came out has like now shown. Like, yeah, they should take him to court. Don't settle. Take him to court. Like all these other teams that were too scared to sue because they didn't want to lose their spot in the sport, like they probably want them to win because they know they're mostly losing money too. It's like, where's all that money going that NASCAR's pocketing? Like, what are they doing with it?
They're buying yachts. They're buying their fifth yacht.
Fifth yacht.
This is what you got to do. When you have four, you need a fifth one.
But so moving on from NASCAR, we'll get into some NR 2003 recent events here, and then you've got something that we'll talk about a little bit here. So for me, my past week, I ran Talladega last Saturday. It was a ton of fun, despite some things that occurred over voice chat. It was very fun. I did block decently aggressively for a win, and then bumper grab took care of the rest unintentionally. That guy who got bumper grab was not happy with me, but hey, it's the last lap. What do you want me to do? Just let you pass me with your run? I mean, no way. Uh, I hadn't run Talladega in like probably 5-6 years, so I was going to do everything I could to win without getting penalized. And if I got penalized, I would have been fine getting penalized because I was doing everything I could to win. It's a one-off event. You're just there to have a good time, and it was a good time. It was a great race. It only took, I think, an hour and a half, so it was fun. Sunday we ran fast at Colorado. Everybody hated that track but me because everybody would spin out. Barely held off Dunn LaPrade for the win in that one. We've got the finale Sunday. It's going to be me, Dunn, and Randall Coleman going at it for the championship. It's unfortunately Final Four format. If it was season-long format, I would have clinched it probably 5 races ago. It's been that's my Corey Heim season right there. Not to gloat, but it is 22 wins out of 36 points events so far for me. And
Wow.
I'm currently on
Who's
a what's that?
who's the fourth in that? Because you said you and
There isn't one.
Dunn. Oh, okay. So
We
it's just the final
only
three.
we only had 7 drivers eligible on the start count, and then one of them missed 2 races.
Oh,
So that dropped it to 6. So we didn't even really start eliminations until the round of quote 8, which was our round of 6. Joshua Moyers ended up missing the first race in the round of 6 because he was in Japan. And then Dunn wasn't sure if he was going to get home in time because he went to the Martinsville race, and he just managed to get home in time to run our race at Colorado. I had won both races of the round, so that made it to where Josh Moyers, Jeffrey Goodpaster, and Tyler Stallhood, they all needed to win the race to make it into the final 3, and then it was potentially going to come down to points between Randall and Dunn, which Randall had internet problems twice, so Dunn passed him on points. So Randall was kind of thanking me that I did win, because otherwise he would have needed Dunn to win to advance. But yeah, so it's final 3. I've won 8 of the 9 playoff races. I won 4 in a row to start, choked at Kansas like a dummy, and then I've won 4 in a row again since. This is the 4th time this year I've won 4 races in a row. Every time I try to win 5 in a row, something goofy happens. So hopefully that's not the case tomorrow. I kind of want to win the championship. I'll take a second to somebody who's not in the final 3. Like I'm cool with that. But I've been joking all year, like something's gonna happen to me. I just know it. I'm gonna get like an RNG gear failure or something dumb. Like it's gonna happen, but we'll see. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can just do my best to fight for it, and even if I don't, win it per se, like I mean, it was still a great year. So nothing to be sad about. Tuesday, I did broadcasting with Andrew Miller at Hobo. That was Homestead. They had a photo finish, came down to 4/1000ths of a second. They're at the end of their chase. The guy who finished second could have really used those 5 extra points. So we'll see if that plays a factor in these last two races over there or not. Looking forward to seeing how that goes. And then I ran Fuel Grand National Wednesday, locked up my 5th Fuel Grand National Series championship a race early. We're running Homestead next week. That'll be a ton of fun. And then Bomb Squad had their last Cup fun run at Phoenix Thursday. That was a good time. Little short race. Won that one too, but those ones haven't been counting towards my totals or anything. But that's my previous week. Josh, what did your previous week look like?
Yeah, did not make the Talladega race, but I got to watch the chaos unfold from Seth's stream. And that was good. I mean, I love all the events that Seth puts on, so sad I couldn't make that one. Then Monday I race SMO. We were at, oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of this track. Delaware Speedway. I think
Delaware,
it's just a
yeah.
short track, a little bit more banking in one and two than three and four. And we had a brand new winner, and I came second.
Who was
Um,
the winner? Do you remember the winner?
I just have to open up SMO's Facebook page. Vicente Adriano. So they've had
Huh.
a couple of new guys join. I think that might have been it's his first win in SMO. I'm not sure if it's his first in the series, but he got on a different tire strategy and then was able to hold us all off at the end of the race.
Nice.
And then next week we're going to Hokkaido for them, which is probably the shortest road course that's available on NR.
Yeah,
So that's gonna be fun.
MOT Mondays of Thunder ran Hokkaido with the Wee Wee EXE. So it was a
Yeah.
fun little EXE, tops out at like 90 miles an hour. Has like no acceleration, so we're putting around that little track one time. That was fun. I got to win at that track because of that series. But there was a there was a league a long time ago in like 2018. We ran a race in GNS physics on Hokkaido, and it was a goofy time to say the least.
Yeah, we're gonna be in CTS physics, so it's gonna be a little bit too fast for that tiny place. Um, but we'll see. I think I'll be battling RJ and probably Tom Wall for that win there. And then on Wednesday, I raced IBOS, Nick Gunther's league. We had a pretty good race.
Other than
We had
that
a little bit of an
restart.
incident. Yeah, so his rule with how stages work there is it doesn't matter if the caution comes out, the lap that the stage ends is going to be where the points pay out. And
Mm-hmm.
so we had a restart where we were going to hit the restart zone, and then when we crossed the line is when the playoff points were going to get paid out. And I started on the front row, so I was fine, and I got away clean. But we had a little bit of a stack up. I think about third row back, and because everybody was just gunning for it and going for the stage points, we had an accident at the line, and so we had a bit of an argument on Discord this week about it, but
I wouldn't
we
say it was
changed the
an
rule.
argument,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
I was just
We
voicing my opinion. I was kind of like joking half-heartedly about it because I was like, "Oh, like why are people so bent out of shape over one more point? Like if you're in row 3, like you can't go anywhere. What are you try harding for?"
Yeah. Well, at the same time, like that point is worth just the same as it would be at the end of the race.
Mhm.
So, would you expect people to go crazy on the last lap if we had a
Oh
restart like
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
And the
at
answer
the
is
end,
yes.
yeah. But for a
So,
stage, it's a little like.
but it's worth the same amount of points.
But if
So,
you think about it
I
too,
mean,
like the stage restart, right? Like you said, it was like a 200-foot dash to the line versus like you restart with 3 to go. Well, you still have 3 laps to go crazy. Like that's a
yeah.
little different than
But
300 feet.
yeah, the problem I have with it is like in NASCAR, the part of the race that has the most gray area surrounding it is the restart
Mm-hmm.
because we know it. People will anticipate the restart and they'll approach the restart zone 5 miles an hour faster than they should be, or they'll be on somebody's bumper, or when you can change lanes is always a little bit of a gray area. And
Especially at
now
Phoenix.
we're gonna pay points out all over this gray area. It just doesn't it's not
Mm-hmm.
good for the competition. And so I think that was also probably one of the reasons why a lot of us are opposed to like this NASCAR overtime thing, because the closer you put the points being paid out to the restart is the weirder things are gonna get. And so yeah, I'm happy with this rule change there. If we end up in that situation, we're just going to pay points out in the restarting order, and it'll keep everything cleaner.
Yeah, absolutely. So was that it? Any other races after Wednesday?
Nope. Nope. I think I'm racing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday most of the time. I'm picking up a Thursday race every once in a while, but I typically shy away from racing on weekends, um, except for the thing that I'm putting on pretty soon here. I'm putting on a new league, I guess you could call it that, but it's a monthly event, and the whole purpose of it is to show off the tracks that are created by the community. And so every single month, we're going to receive a couple of tracks from the community, and we'll pick one, and then we'll put on a big event for that and have a broadcast and probably get a 20 car field, I'm hoping for a special event each month. Right now, I'm just got two exhibition races planned, one in November and one in December. But if the interest is high and people like it, then I'll put on points paying events for 2026 and we'll call it a championship. But yeah, like the whole purpose of it is what makes NR 2003 great is all the people that continually make content for it. Otherwise, I think we'd all switch over to the games that have better versions of tracks, more accurate versions, and maybe more car selection, I guess. But
Yeah.
because we continually are making new tracks, revamping them, and all the fantasy stuff that people put out, I think that's what keeps this game alive. And so I really wanted to promote track making and recognize those people who are doing this service for the community.
Yeah, I think that's a great thing. I was, it randomly spurred my memory bank of old EA fantasy tracks, and I was thinking, man, if someone ever made Dockside, that would be fun. Because that was a fun little road course with, a lot of slow, tight corners. That would be a fun little track to have made on NR, but a lot of people haven't bothered making the EA Sports tracks other than oh, it's not really like a 1-to-1, but Mystical did make the Taylor Swift Superdrome, and then they had like the skin edit that was the Dodge Motordrome, but
Yeah.
the actual like Dodge Raceway Stadium was a lot more smaller bullring track on EA's
Mhm.
game. Old Spice obviously was made, which was cool. Um,
Yeah, I love that
but
track.
like Dockside would be cool to see made. Um, Speedway Boulevard. If someone made Speedway Boulevard, like that would be sick, especially with a little like dirt strip. Nothing like taking a corner, hitting dirt, and then coming back off. You know
Yeah.
that track was always a good time. High speed like road course.
Yeah, so I've got two tracks that are ready just in case we don't get any submissions from the community. And one of them is called Phoenix Doglegs Revenge. And so instead of the track surface and the dogleg being asphalt, the dogleg got its revenge and now the entire track surface is grass.
Oh God.
So hopefully we never have to run it because I don't know how to make a setup for dirt racing. But
You just
um,
it's really easy. You just move all the weight forward.
yeah.
Um, you move all the weight forward, and then you can either run. You want to run like 10 psi on the left and like 14 on the right, and then like you just you flatten the springs all the way down.
Hmm.
Um, 450 on the front and I think 150 on the rear. But yeah, you want to move all the weight forward.
Okay. Well, then I'll have to try that.
And
The
then
the problem
the
is,
only other thing,
people are
the
going to be pulling a Corey Haim move on the bottom on
yeah.
the asphalt. So we'll have to make something that works on both of those.
Oh, is it still asphalt on the apron?
Yeah.
Oh, just turn the asphalt grip all the way down to like zero point 0.5. Make it unusable.
Oh,
Um,
no, no, no. They have to be able to drive down there. That's the whole point.
oh my God. Well, yeah, you're gonna have to figure something out with that I. But the other way to make grass work too would be to have the chassis set to either 0 or 3. Either one of those should be fine. But yeah, I
Which
would
one
move the weight
is
forward.
okay? I'll try that out. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Um, well, the other track that I'm working on is something that another track maker built. I can't remember his name, but he had it set as one of his green tracks, which means just the layout's ready. And so I just fixed the pit road for it, and I'm working on some decorations for it. But it's one of the tracks that the Mexico Series races on.
Oh, okay.
And I was really surprised when I was diving through the track selection that we have out there is out of all of the tracks that the NASCAR Mexico Series runs, we only have two, which is this track that I'm working on and um, the road course at Mexico City.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's surprising because if we look at all of the NASCAR series that run today, the one that's closest to the 2003 spec of the cars is the Mexico series. So there's like six or seven um, short tracks that they run. They're all pretty interesting. They've got weird elevation changes, sort of like North Wilkesboro does. So that's my next project is to build out one of those.
Nice. And so, what are you looking to? You said so that you want to like showcase all the creators in a way. Is that like the main objective here to just showcase all the different creators?
Yeah, the main objective is to recognize those creators. So if we do raise prize money for these races, we're going to split it. 50% is going to go to the track maker, sort of as a thank you, and then 50% will be distributed among the finishers. When we do have broadcasts, we're going to start the race with some interview of the track maker, like ask them what was the inspiration and what were you thinking about when you built it and what were you focused on, like what details did you want to highlight, that sort of thing. And then also when we race, the track maker will have a lot of input on what the format will be. Like, do they want to have a stage race? What kind of mod do they want us to run? Um,
Mm,
that sort of thing. So,
cool.
yeah.
Also, with that said, let's talk about your history with NR 2003. So, how did you get into NR and what does your first online league race look like?
Yeah. So I started league racing on the Formula One games, and one year I got put in the second division. And on that game, they had the Formula Two cars. And I just fell in love with that car because so much less downforce and it had a lot of power as well. So the rear end was super squirrely. And when I finished that season and I got promoted back to the Formula One cars, I was just like, I don't want to race the Formula One cars. They're no fun. And so what I thought was, well, what kind of cars are out there that have a lot of power and they've got like no downforce? And so the answer was I got to go back and play some NASCAR games. And so for me, it was pretty simple because at the time it was late 2019, and so my options were uh, Heat 2 or 3, or it was the last Heat game that ever came out was available, and NR 2003 or iRacing. And I was a college student, so I didn't have the money for iRacing, and so I got in a NR 2003 league. I knew about I had been watching Huang Do's videos on YouTube, so I knew about the game, and I had watched some of his streams of USORL. So I ended up joining up with those guys, and they had a lights league on Mondays or Tuesdays, which was essentially a preview of what their Cup Series was going to run on Sunday. So it was open setup, and I was completely out of my element, but yeah, that's how I got started.
Okay, so what was your first race? Track, number, mod in that lights
So
division?
yeah, we were running the NXS 20 mod like right after it came out. Um, we I was running the 85 car, and I think it was at this Ohio road course.
Mid
It was
Ohio.
a no, no, not road course. Sorry. It was a bull ring. It was like a half mile, like 30-degree banking. I think it was a fantasy track, and I crashed 3 times in the first 30 laps and then called it a night, and then showed up the next week and did pretty much the same thing. Um, and they were pretty, the USORL guys were pretty serious about the competition and that sort of thing. So I raced probably 5 or 6 races with them. And then I had a really bad night when we went to Bristol, and Dewey Schramm like totally ripped into me. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing? Like, y you're a nuisance. You're moving chicane. You're gonna crash, 5 times and then finally quit." But that Bristol race, I just decided not to quit. I just kept driving. I think I've crashed him out, going for a win or something. So he was really pissed, and
Yeah, Dewey's a
no
full
one
on
was really
asshole.
stick. Yeah, that's true. But no one really stuck up for me in Discord. So I was like, well, I think it's time to leave this league. And
Yeah,
so
you picked the wrong league to have be your first league.
yeah, I mean, it was. I thought it was the Lights League, so it's Mondays. No one really cares, but yeah,
Didn't
I
matter.
was wrong.
Didn't matter.
Yeah,
It was like
didn't matter.
that was like FTF back in the day. FTF had a lights league, and I was a menace, just like you were. And they were pissed at me too. I remember the first time I was bad. We ran North Wilkesboro in the Xfinity cars, and I think I spun out like 3 times because the setup was it was fixed setup, but the setup was really loose because all those guys like had been around, they knew what they were doing. And I just couldn't stop fucking spinning.
Yeah,
And I remember like saying after the race, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was so bad," and they were like, "Oh, just like spend time practicing with the AI," and they were really cool. And then like I never really did that. I just kept running races, and then I was being more and more of a nuisance. And then they started to hate me because I was I think I'm like 8 to 10 years younger than those guys are now, or
hmm
well,
hmm
forever 8 to 10 years younger, right? Like the gap never shrinks. But like yeah, I was like a nuisance to them. Probably get along with them okay now, but yeah, I was bad at causing wrecks, so they never liked me. If you were clean and like didn't cause problems, they liked you. But if you were causing wrecks, hitting the wreck score, like you were just a pain in the ass. And but yeah.
yeah.
So how did you get your
And
first league win? Oh, you go ahead first, then we'll get to that.
oh, I was just gonna say that that the patience does run quite thin with rookies in
Oh
NR. Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
the learning curve is quite steep,
Well,
and
now I see now after all these years, I look at newbies the same way that they were looking at me, and I'm like, oh, I get it now. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like I'm just trying to chill and run at the front and have a green flag race, and all these rookies are causing accidents, ruining the fun. Like, I get it now.
Like we told you to run with the AI, and you obviously didn't, bro. So that's why we're pissed at you. Um, so after that, I think I got back into NR because I took a pretty decent break, and then Ben Schneider was like, you need to come run Maverick. And now I'm back for good, I think. But I ended up getting my first win in because I had raced a lot of Maverick and he had let me do some adminning for them. And so I created what is kind of like the only series that I've ran since then is the Winter Series. And it was my league. And it was supposed to be a league for Maverick drivers to run during the off season so that they, figure out how to drive. And no one showed up to it, but except for, Nick Gunther and all of the NNSCRA guys. And so I got my first win at Myrtle Beach. And I actually had a fast car that day. We had a long run and I went from fifth to second and then I jumped Michael Norman in the pits. And then we had a couple green flag, short green flag runs and I kept everybody behind me and I won that race. That was my first one.
Nice. So I'm assuming since like the Maverick guys weren't really showing up, they just kind of. I'm assuming Seth offered to put it under his banner there. Is that how that ended up playing out? Because I know it's in the NNSCRA Winter Truck Series now.
Yeah, well, there's quite a bit of backstory behind why it ended up on NSCRA,
Well, we don't have
and
to get into that drama if you
yeah, I
don't
don't
want
really want to
to.
get into it, but yeah, I think uh, let's just say my efforts were more appreciated by the NNSCRA guys, and that's why it's now under Seth's banner.
Preferred number. I see you run 86 a lot. What's up with that?
Well, I've run 86 at Maverick almost exclusively. And it was because at the time I used to run the 99 all the time and it was taken by somebody. And now the 99 is vacant at Maverick and I just don't feel the need to paint a new car. So I'll keep the one that I've got. It's that
Okay.
simple. I don't really
Um,
have a very specific number that I run all the time. I mean, on the trucks, I run a D11 and you know, sometimes I run the 99. I think in IBOS I'm running the 17 right now. It's just because I paint my own cars, so
yeah.
I'll make a scheme and then I go, oh, I need to attach a number to it, and I'll probably try a few numbers, and whatever one looks good is the one I'll run.
All right. So you're on wheel, correct? What wheel do you use?
I use the Logitech G29, so the Xbox branded version.
920. Okay.
Oh, 920. You're right.
Yeah.
Um, the settings that I run. Right now I'm on 270 degrees rotation, 100% linearity.
Oh wow.
Um, I have switched in between going to 360 every once in a while, but I think I'm set on being at 270
Do you
now.
run any centering, spring, or force feedback in game?
I run the force feedback. The centering spring, I think, just kind of confuses me with what the force feedback would be, so I
Okay.
don't run any centering. Does that mess you up at all with, I mean, running down the straightaway, the wheels turn to the right. Do you ever feel like you're fighting the wheel on the backstretch?
Because of the spring?
Yeah.
No, it's just stiff. So
Okay.
so I run 90% spring. I used to run 50 on my old wheel, but then when I got a new 29, um, the new one I think is like since it's new, it's like freshly lubricated and everything, so it's
Hmm. Hmm.
naturally looser at a lower strength. I think the old wheel had kind of like squeaked out and everything, so like the old wheel like it was getting stiff because of age, so I didn't need as much.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I switched to 90 for the new wheel. I had to play around. First, I was doing like 80, and 80 felt like a little too loose, and then I tried 100, and 100 was too stiff, so I settled on 90. And then I only run 8% force feedback in game. I don't know how much you're using, but I it never really messes with me per se. It's just kind of there. I don't really like feel it unless I hit like a weird like grip patch or something.
Yeah. I mean, the force feedback in NR isn't very strong to begin with. That's probably most of the reason why I don't run any centering springs because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like if I run any of that, it's dampening out all of the force feedback that you get from the wheel. Um,
Yeah,
so
if
I
you
run
were
100% because I just need to feel all that I can
yeah,
because I mean that's what I use.
and if you were to switch to like a different kind of wheel, um, all the wheels drive a little different on an R. So like the Logitech wheels have the centering spring, but like the Thrustmasters don't, and like direct drive wheels, obviously it's direct drive, so that's different. But like Thrustmasters belt driven, not gear driven. So like I know guys that use Thrustmaster wheels, and they're like they can get good, but like sometimes they don't get like really really good. But I've also learned that getting load cell pedals is like a big advantage once you get used to it. So I've been running those for 2.5 years now, almost 3 years now actually, and those have been like the 1 to 2 steps up the pedestal that I needed to improve
Hmm.
my driving was the load cell pedals.
So I use the G920 pedals that they've got, and there's like a rubber stopper in the brake to give it
Mm.
some feeling. Is there any difference that the load cell pedals are getting that you don't get from?
So the load cell is all spring based, and you can actually see it. So like
Mhm.
and like it's got a certain load. I forget what the number is, but the load cell like there's a certain load you can put on it. But the Thrustmaster TLCM, those are their load cell pedals. They come with like a spring kit, so you can adjust how stiff you want it. So I have,
Mhm.
and then when you get the profiler for the pedals, you can adjust brake force, which determines like how much you have to press down to get to like max brake. So like I have my
Okay.
brake force set to like 50 or whatever. So like I don't have to press like I press as far down as I can like physically manage, and that's like max brake for me. And then
Okay.
the throttle
But I
is
just
still a potentiometer on the Thrustmaster, but it's a stiffer throttle with more range, so you get a little more throttle control.
okay. Yeah, I think I'd like more range, but for the braking force and everything, I just do all that in the game, and so I push down as hard as I can on the brake, and that'll be my max brake. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think the what I would like before a pedal upgrade is I want a wheel upgrade because the G920 is great for NR, but if I when I switch over to a different game, I feel like I'm lacking a little bit of the force feedback, which I like a lot
Hmm.
of. So,
Yeah, I would say I know Jack Merkel was saying he's been thinking about getting a direct drive. I will say, not impossible because there are people that do run direct drive wheels on NR, but a lot of guys I know, like Hezi Hardy was telling me, or he was telling somebody, um, like when he switched to direct drive, it went from feeling like he was on top of the track to like actually on the track. So like with the direct drive, you actually feel everything even in an R.
hmm,
So like and like I was talking to Tyler Mallon because he has a direct drive wheel now, and he told me I tried to get on an R with my new wheel and I can't drive my shit anymore. Like he can't drive any of his setups anymore with the direct drive. He would have to, because it's a completely different feel from the wheel with the
yeah,
force
yeah,
feedback, and there's no centering spring on the direct drive. So like he was used to the centering spring. I'm used to the centering spring. You're not, so you'd probably be all right because you just want the force feedback. But like a lot of Logitech guys, if they use centering spring and they go to a wheel that doesn't have it anymore, they start to struggle to
well,
find. They have
yeah,
to like relearn how to use the wheel. So
because I used to use the Thrustmaster wheel, and then I switched over to this, and so because when I was racing on the Formula One games, I had a Thrustmaster wheel, and
mhm.
the force feedback was a lot stronger and a lot more like minute. There was a lot more detail in it in those games, and so when I try to like pick up Formula One games on this Logitech, it's just it feels muddied, I guess is the way I
Okay.
would describe it.
Yeah, the wheel
So,
conversation's always an interesting one because everyone experiences different stuff. I think I was talking on Facebook one time with somebody in RTG, and they were saying, "Oh, well, I got a G29 and it sucked, and I got the 920 and it's so much better." And I'm like, they're the same wheel though, aren't they? And he was like, not from my experience. And I was like, huh, that's interesting because they're supposed to be the same wheel.
Yeah.
It's just one's made for
Well,
PlayStation, one's made for Xbox. One has more buttons than the other.
I'm sure that there's just because I mean we all know that the Logitech is also the entry wheel, so I'm sure that there's just a lot of variance in how they manufacture them. I'm sure
Could
some
be.
people have like great 920s and other people have like the crappy ones. So
It could be.
maybe you should sell your 920. Be like, I got 100 wins on this. It's going to be good for NR.
Yeah. Well,
$300.
I actually threw my old 29 in the electronic recycling at work. Last at the end
Oh
of
man.
last year because I started this year with this new G29 and it's been fine. Like I said. So back to you. Who? So you already answered this question. You said Dewey ripped into you. That was more so Dewey butting heads with you. Would you say you've butted heads with anybody over the years?
Yeah, I think my biggest beef was with Trey Kinsey in
Oh,
Maverick last season. It all culminated in this disaster at Phoenix last season, at the end
yeah,
of the
I
season.
recall. I think the broadcast.
But Trey has this thing that he does where when he's on the outside, he wants to dictate where the inside car is going to go, even if he's like at your door. And so it happened at Atlanta, and then it happened at Vegas, where I was on the inside and he was at my door, and I arced into the corner and he just slammed into me. Or even on exit, it happened at one time where I was coming off the corner on his inside and he didn't go all the way out to the wall, and I came up and I door slammed him, but it was because he didn't give me enough room, and so he was already kind of pissed at me because we gotten into a couple of wrecks in the middle of the season at Gateway because Trey was fantastic on the brakes and he was like Daniel Ricciardo, the best of the late breakers, and so um, he had me on entry in every single corner, but I'd have him on exit. And then one time he just, ran straight through me on entry. And so I was pissed off. We had 5 laps to go, and I started 3 places behind him. And I finally get to his outside on the backstretch, and I just door him 3, 4 times on the backstretch, put him all the way down on the inside line. And we get into turn 3, and he just scoots off towards the wall because he doesn't have anywhere to turn into. And so at that point, we were at the height of our animosity towards each other. And then we get to Phoenix, and he's already wrecked because he's had this scuffle with Jack Merkel. And so he's off the pace. And I'm behind him on pace on fresh tires. And I end up getting into the back of him in turn 3. And now he's just completely off his rocker. So 3 or 4 times he takes a swipe at me as I'm lapping him, and I don't know if he actually got parked or one time I just connected with him just right and sent him into the outside wall, and he got junked. But really, ever since then, I haven't even really seen him on an NR because he just left.
Mm, yeah, yeah, it's rough beef right there. It's always rough
Yeah,
when like the beef is continuous. Um, I haven't had really any
but
beef per se that has like culminated, but there have been moments this year. Um, there was a moment in May where I really wanted to intent wreck somebody, but I was like, I can still win this race. I don't need to intent wreck this guy, so I just pass him. Um,
you sure it wasn't me?
no, it wasn't you. I don't mind saying who it was. It was Tyler Stallhood. We settled our stuff for the most part. Sometimes I'll like mishear something and it'll like set me off like PTSD style, which isn't good for me and surely isn't good for Tyler. But we managed to get along for the most part. It's pretty all right, I'd say. Um, then
Well,
there's
I actually,
two other people that I will not name. Um, one person, he'll do some dumb stuff around me here and there when I run at MOT, and I kind of try to just shrug it off. And then there's one person who I'm looking forward to not having to see on the track much next year, because I will not really be racing at fast or fuel next year. Um, he's really aggressive on the short run, and he kind of just makes dumb decisions. And I'm just kind of looking forward to not having to race against him anymore, because I haven't gone on completely off on him yet, but I did go off on him a little bit at the end of August. So I'm kind of just trying to get through these last two races that he'll be there for, and I won't have to really race him anymore. So I'm looking forward to that.
But for me, the rivalries are what make it exciting. Like I think some people
Well,
hate
yeah, when they're
getting into beef.
smart and not a fucking moron.
Oh no, I even like the moron beefs, man,
No, I
because
don't like the moron beasts. They're frustrating.
yeah. Well, like okay, because the options out there is you can go run any other game and they've got, open lobbies out there all the time. And
Mm.
if you just want to race, the go get into an open lobby anywhere, or iRacing or the new NASCAR game. But if you want league racing, what I like about it is the fact that you battle somebody for an entire season over 12 to 20 races, and over that time you're going to start to hate somebody and you're going to start to enjoy racing with someone else. And so the beefs just happen, and it's one of the great things about league racing. So I miss having beef with Trey Kinsey because I don't get to race with him anymore. So um because like
Oh
it's
man.
nice to go around and like, oh, look at Trey Kinsey, I'm lapping him, this is a great day. Or on a different day it's, oh crap, I'm getting passed by Trey Kinsey, this is the worst race I've ever been in. And it just accentuates the highs and the lows when you have those rivalries.
I will say I have kind of like, I try to be nice for the most part, but I usually end up getting mad anyway. So like the last half of this year, I've kind of been like, fuck it, I'll just be the heel. I'll just start being more openly, like jokingly for the most part, but openly kind of an asshole when I say stuff. Because I like, even when I'm trying not to say something, someone will take it as me being an asshole. So I'm like, well, I might as well just be an asshole then. So like, whatever. Um, but like when like pass somebody, like I'm just like outmaneuvering them, and then I pass them, and it's just like, see you later, Felicia. Like I'm gone. Like you ain't
Yeah.
catching back up to me. But yeah, I don't know. I guess you could say I like talking shit now. In a way, it's kind of fun for me to
Well,
like just talk shit.
yeah. Well, I like to get a little bit on people's nerves. Like my litmus test is if no one's told you in a while that if you do that again, I'm gonna wreck you, then you're probably not racing hard enough.
Like when I
Because
told you at Pocono, if you block me
yeah, you
again, you're
tell me,
getting dumped.
I'm like, all right, I'm right in the zone. Like I'm racing hard enough. You gotta defend your position. I think Jack told me that on Wednesday too. He's like, if you brake check me in the corner again, I'm gonna wreck you. And obviously I was like saving fuel, and that's why I quote unquote brake checked him. But I'm like, I'm doing a good job.
Right. Which I don't got a problem with being blocked, as long as it's not like we're not even like halfway through the race. That was the only reason I was like, man, why are you even bothering right now? Like, it's 40 laps to go at Pocono. Come on. But it's funny. There was a race at MOT. I think it was a month ago. Garson Muyong.
Okay, yeah.
I think we were racing Dega, and he blocked me once, and I was like, okay, that's fine, I'll lift. And then he kind of blocked me a second time, and I was like, yep, okay, I'll lift. And then in my head, I'm like, okay, he can block me one more time, and then the next time I'm not lifting, and if he gets wrecked, I don't care because he already blocked me 3 times and I lifted. So I kind of do that in my head now for some people, depending who it is. Unless it's somebody, like I said, it's like one of those rivals where you're like, nah, they get like one or two clean blocks and then they're gone, or like that, or like if you're
Yeah.
like, or if it's like somebody who does something to like what Jack posted in Maverick the other day. That guy there was somebody who blocked him all the way to the pit wall at Martinsville. Like, yeah, if you do
Mhm.
that, you deserve to get wrecked. Because what are you doing?
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like you seem to like the rivalries a little more, like the drama ones. But I try to stay away. But I usually get sucked into them anyway. So who
Well,
would
yeah, I wouldn't say if you're out there and you're thinking about racing a league, like don't go out there and like attempt to get into a rivalry with someone.
right? Like
That'll get you banned from a league pretty quickly.
don't try to cause problems, but you
Yeah.
you you might find
But
yourself in the problem.
and if you're racing hard, then you will get in a rivalry and that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Have you ever intent wrecked anybody?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever rubbed somebody's fender under yellow, or like sometimes guys will like rev their engines at people? That was an old one someone taught me once. Yeah, if you get pissed at somebody, just
Oh.
next time you're under yellow, just go up beside them and rev your engine at them.
Oh, I think if I revved my engine at somebody, they'd be like, "Hey, the server's glitching." But let's see. Well, Trey Kinsey, I did that under green, um, coming off of turn two at Gateway, door slammed him. I'm trying to remember. I think I've definitely slammed doors under yellow, and it was because I was angry, but I can't remember who it was about. It was probably some sort of Daytona race because I used to race Talladega Nights every once in a while, and
Hmm.
those guys race really dirty, and
Ooh,
they
just calls out a
also,
group of people.
yeah, they race pretty dirty, and they are also very clicky. So there's like teams of like 6 or 7 guys, and like if you're trying to get in line and it's in between X or Y person, like you're gonna get door slammed out the way. So
Yeah.
also apparently everybody's cheating in that league anyway. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
happy I'm out. Yeah.
Cheating in a super speedway league? That's crazy.
I mean, if all you do is race super speedways 4 days a week, then I guess you'd get tired of, super speedway racing and you'd start wanting to cheat.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Um, oh, we already did that question, kind of. What race win means the most to you,
Uh,
if you have one? What would you say is the biggest race you've won? You could do that question too. One of those.
the biggest race I've won. Um, I'm gonna say I was at Essex on a Friday night because they used to run at like midnight, and we had their All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, and I pulled the bump and run on Robbie Gilvin, and I took the lead with 10 to go. So that was probably my best win, and because of the stage, because it was the All-Star race, it meant a lot to me. I've had a lot of like second places in races that I was really wanted to win and would be on the top of my list. Like the Culver Block 400 one year, I was second place, and um, a couple of other races that I thought I could have won and it would have been great. But yeah, I think it's that one because Robbie's such a great driver, and to be able to get the best of him.
You won any championships so far?
Yeah, I won the championship in my own league, which I don't know, it doesn't count
It
if it's your
counts.
own league. Yeah. I
I don't
mean,
know if you would hold it as high if you win another one. I mean, I've won
yeah.
like four or five championships for leagues I've hosted, and I kind of all hold them down at the bottom because we never really got big fields, but
I
I
mean,
still
we
count
had
them.
we had on average 14 drivers in that league. And so it was a decently sized field,
Yeah,
and
that's decent.
I went on a tear in the middle of the season and won like three in a row. So um that was a good season. I ended up painting this Ghost Energy truck for it, and it
Yes, I
was
remember that
probably
scheme.
I
Yes.
I love that scheme. So um yeah, there's that one. I made it to the championship for an IBOS one season, and Nick and Cody just destroyed at Homestead, and I didn't have anything for them. Um, and then I keep chasing Jack for this Maverick championship this year, and it's just not going to work out.
Oh, maybe you'll get lucky next
So
year since I think I've
I don't
I've
know.
seen
I
him
feel
say
like
he may or may not be full time. So
uh, I mean the problem is like I could show up, and depending on who shows up, I could finish second in Maverick next year because like one good guy will show up and will race the whole season, whether it's Keith will get back to full time or Robbie will get back to full time
it sounds like
or Todd Wilson will come back.
Keith might be cutting down races too, from what I've
Like
heard.
everywhere or just at
He
Maverick?
left. He wasn't really racing at Faster Fuel, so he left there. And then I was asking him about it. I was like, "Well, you do race here and there," and he's like, "Yeah, not enough." And he's like, then he was telling me he's been busy. So like a lot of guys I think are getting busy. I feel like with
Yeah.
NR, some of these guys that have gone, and then they come back. Some of them go through the phase of like they come back for like a few years and then they remember why they left again or something like that. Or they're like, yeah, I want to spend time doing this, this, and that. So those
Yeah.
guys typically will start to only run the 1 or 2 nights a week, and they'll do that at their home league, and then they don't really venture out anymore.
Yeah. Well, because that's they figured out where they like to race, and
Yeah, too.
if they're not craving, like a prestigious win or a championship anywhere, then what's the point?
Yeah. Uh.
Um,
Oh.
let me ask you one question.
Okay.
So Jack Merkel's been doing this thing at Maverick because apparently you have a bet that he has with Keith where he has to start every race from last.
Yep. I remember.
And um, I just want someone to tell me, because this is what I believe, is that in oval racing, where you start doesn't matter except for the pit box.
Yeah, you want a decent pit box. It doesn't. The thing is, a lot of the newer tracks, the pit box doesn't matter as much. The old tracks, the pit box mattered because if you got the first pit stall, you would immediately be clear pit road once you gassed it up 20 feet.
Hmm.
Newer tracks, they have the commitment cones, and some of those tracks, they don't clear you until the cone. So that
Yeah.
adds like enough width or enough length to where like you still have to get up to pit speed from the first stall. So then
Hmm.
the stall doesn't matter because
Yeah. Like they did
because
this year at Phoenix too. They extended where the pit line was going to end.
yeah. So then it doesn't matter because like you're clear when you're clear. The pit stall doesn't really matter other than in terms of do I have an opening going in and do I have an opening going out? Because the last thing you want is to be at the back and you have guys who don't know how to like you have guys that'll just like if they can get in their stall to where they take forward, then they park it 30 degrees sideways and then you're blocked going out.
Yeah.
Or you have guys that might be really right as far forward as they can be in their stall, and then you have to like maneuver your way in. So it matters a little bit. That's why like at Fuel, we've been experimenting here and there with tracks where the pit stalls have been spread out because we get like 20 guys, so then like everybody gets an opening, so that it doesn't really matter too much because everyone's going to be able to get in and out easy. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
did that for the Winter Series last year too. It's just
I
kind of spread everybody else out on pit road.
I will say though, if with the way hot pitting works in NR, I would not want to be in a pit stall that is the first five at the end of pit road because then you can't hot pit and you're gonna lose time because you can't hot pit in. So then like if you have the last one of the last three stalls, you almost have to like be going slower than pit speed when you go in, and that's costing you time. That would I say that's when I would say like this pit stall is hurting you.
Yeah. Well, for pit roads or for pit exits that you can actually stay full throttle all the way to the backstretch too, I'd say that you don't want to be the first three pit stalls when you're hot pitting.
Oh, I
That
agree.
also puts you at a disadvantage.
I agree. That's true
So,
for the super speedways, and that's really true for Pocono, depending on the gearing. I
mhm.
actually, for a long time, I had a Pocono setup where first gear was so long I wasn't shifting the second gear until like 100 miles an hour. So if I was running that setup, I wanted to be pit stall 4 or 5 at the like furthest to the front, because one year I did that. I was the fourth or fifth stall. My buddy was in the first stall. We both had the same setup. We went in pit road together, and then I gapped him by almost a second coming out of pit road because I was already doing 55 leaving pit road, and he
yep.
was crawling up to 55 because the gear was so long. So then I started playing with gearing. Like, okay, like if it's a track where, like I want to be able to accelerate quickly, like I'll make first gear shorter, and then if I need to turn second gear into my restart gear, so be it. Because then if I
Yeah.
think we're going to get green flag pit stops, like I want my first gear to shift at 65, 70 miles an hour, not 110.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you have to think about, like, are we going to have green flag runs or not? Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So, in my perspective, like if you have the first couple stalls on pit road, so you're when you get on the pit road, you have the first stall on the left. On green flag pitting, you're doing the same amount of braking as everybody else does. Their braking is just separated into braking to get down to pit road speed and then braking to get into their box. So I think in hot pitting scenarios, they they're not at a disadvantage, except for the fact that it's probably more difficult to break from 100 and whatever to zero than it is to break from whatever to 50 and then 50 to zero.
well, and again, that depends. Are you braking for the cone line, or are you braking for where the stalls start? Because if
That's
you're
true.
if you're running if you were running like Indy game track or Daytona game track, like I can't hot pit if I started 39th to last, like I'm not going to be able to hot pit because I have to slow down to get in my stall. So like I said, you're losing time on entry if you're racing other players that know how to hot pit. Because sometimes, and
No, because you're saying like the first segment will like average out or whatever.
well, you can't even average
Yeah.
it out. Like what if you think so? Like say the last pit stall is right up against pit entry. Like I'll have to be doing when I'm gonna have to pull in my stall immediately. So I'll have to be doing like 25 at the pit
Oh,
line
I
because
see what
I'm
you're saying. I see what
breaking
you're
into my
saying.
stall. Versus if I have stall 20, I can still go in at like 80 at the pit line, slam the brakes down to 55. I'm gonna gain like 3 seconds on the guy who's in pit stall 43 because he had to stop so much sooner.
I want to figure out exactly how we do the calculations to figure out if you're speeding on pit road
It
because my
mostly it averages out, I think, but there are times where if you hit a certain speed for too long, the game catches you. Because I think iRacing operates a little similar. Like I've seen guys where they'll blip 56 if it's like 55. They'll blip 56, slow down. They'll blip 56, slow down. They'll blip 56, quickly slow down, and then they never get a black. Because they catch it quick enough. But if they like go continuously too fast, then for like if they go that speed for like 2 or 3 seconds, the game like pings it up and they get nailed. So I think NR
okay.
works a little similarly, but NR also I think goes more off an average system because iRacing will hit you like immediately.
Oh, so they're like maybe they're checking. I'd have to we'd have to figure that out because I really want to know. Because for me, it seems like what they're doing is they have the segments. Like when you're building a track, you have all these track segments, and it seems like they're averaging out over that segment. Except doesn't make sense with the hot pitting because we know for a fact that that first segment they're averaging like 10 or 15 over, but they're not getting called for a black. So,
Yeah, only the art of hot pitting is you must be completely on the brake the whole time when you slow down on entry. If you come off the brake at all and you like maintain like 60 for a split second and then slow down again, like the game's gonna nail you. But from what I've seen, if you just continuously break down, like you should be all right. And there are some tracks where I've gotten really aggressive with it and I haven't gotten nailed. I think one time I went into Michigan Game Track and I was doing 85-90 at the pit line and I just slammed the brake all the way down to like 52 and then eased it back up to 54 and I didn't get a black. And you gain like a
Well,
second doing that.
there are also tracks where you can do a hot pit exit, where if you come straight out of your pit box and you just slam on the gas, you can get up to 10 over the pit speed before you exit. But as long as you're exiting fast enough, I guess, before they maybe check
Yeah,
your speed or
those are
whatever,
tricky.
you won't get a black.
I wouldn't mess with those. Those are tricky to me. I don't know anything about those. I usually don't have to worry about that, but
Yeah, it happens to me on accident sometimes when you know you gotta get the lead on pit road and you end up hitting 60 on the exit, that sort of
mhm.
thing.
Have you met anybody from the community in real life?
No, I got invited to a bunch of the NNSCRA guys went to go see the 500 this year. And I just couldn't make it because I couldn't get time off work.
Gotcha.
But probably soon. I know that they go to one or two races a year, and so I'd love to go tag along with them. If anybody wants to go to Texas Motor Speedway, I will be at that race this year, probably.
Oh, nice. Any other interests? Music, movies, TV shows, etc. Other hobbies? You name it.
Yeah, I like cycling, like road cycling, both watching and participating in it. That pink scheme that I think everybody knows me for is a recreation of a cycling team jersey, actually.
Okay.
So there's a pink EF cycling team, and it's like that pink and blue. And so one day in GIMP, I was just like, let's see what it would look like on a car. And now I'm kind of in love with pink race cars. So,
Huh. Nice.
and well, the other thing that I think is interesting about cycling is because the draft is so important on road cycling, I would try and tell you that you could learn how to super speedway race by joining your local group ride and figuring out what it's like to draft behind somebody. Uh, but the parallels are they end there at the drafting part, really. I've been watching an anime with my girlfriend called Spy Family
Okay. I
recently,
think I've heard of that one.
which has been fun. Uh, yeah, any anime lovers out there, they probably know what that one is. And then I've been playing this game called Uma Musume, which Michael Norman and Apollo Hyde would know about. But
Okay.
mostly, like my main hobby is sim racing. You know.
Do you play any other games other than racing games when you're feeling like an itch for something? Like I'll play like Star Wars Battlefront, like the old ones here and there, like maybe once a winter.
Um, let's see. I've been playing Factorio a decent amount, which is I don't know if you've ever heard of Factorio, but
No, what
the
is that?
okay. It's like the premise of the game is that you're the engineer and you've been stranded on a planet and you have to build a factory on this alien planet to manufacture a spaceship for you to escape.
Oh, okay.
And your factory emits pollution and the native residents of the planet that you're on hate the pollution and so they attack you. And so it's like you're building this factory and it's like a big puzzle of how you're going to connect all the pieces of this factory together, and then also you have to defend yourself from the local population.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've sunk way too many hours into that game. Let me see. My Steam playtime is 200 hours and I've only had it for about a year, so
Nice. I wish we could track hours for NR because I've heard
well,
people have
yeah.
connected their iRacing to Steam and they can track their hours on iRacing because they have it connected to Steam. I would love to know how many hours I have on NR because not counting the 10 years of online I've done, I have had the game since it came out, and I would always screw around as a kid on it. So I'm curious, cumulatively, wow, I can't English. I'm curious how much altogether over 22 years I have on NR specifically, NR03 specifically, and then if I add NR 2002 and NR4 to that total, I'm curious like how much I have total across those three Papyrus games because it's probably something crazy. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how many hours are in a year offhand. Um, you considered like maybe 2 to 3 hours of free time, not every day, but there were periods where that's what it was like for me, like just 2 to 3 hours just screwing around, crashing AI and stuff until I like it was just endless fun for me, just crashing the AI, getting goofy wrecks. That's what I would do as a kid, and then now like I just play it online all the time. So it's probably something ridiculous. Like it's got to be at least 5 digits. Like I must have at least 10,000 hours on this game.
Yeah, I think you probably do because I'm trying to do the math in my head, and I think, knowing how much I race, and I've been around for 5 years now, I'm probably getting close to 10,000, not 10,000, probably getting close to like 3,000 hours, I think would be the number that I'm at. So, it adds up pretty fast, especially if you, you show up to, your local league race on a Monday, you've got a half hour of practice and then qualifying and happy hour, it ends up being like 2 hours. And so if you do that, once a week, you end up 100 hours a year. So,
Yeah.
and that's if you're only showing up for that race. So it's it's quick. Like if you could also add in the time that you spent, I don't know if you paint, but
No.
painters spend a
No
lot of
way.
time on their schemes. So if you add that all in, it's probably a lot.
I remember
But
I
that's the
did.
reason, like, if we're gonna wrap it all back up there, Zach, like that's the reason we gotta, you know, recognize all the people who make all this content for the game, because they've devoted hours and hours. I'm sure like each track that someone's created takes, you know,
Oh,
200,
hours
300
and hours
hours
and hours. Yeah.
of time to build all the assets and just lay out the track and all those things. So,
Yeah,
and they're doing it for
absolutely.
free.
Oh yeah,
Doing it
I
for
know.
free.
They're
It's
doing it for
crazy.
free, which is crazy. That's why I have a lot more respect for track makers in recent years than maybe I didn't really think about because I'm like, oh yeah, like they're doing it for free, and then you got people complaining like, when's this gonna get released? When's it gonna be out? Da 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 da. It's like, man, will you shut up?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you keep bitching, they're never gonna release anything.
Well, that's true. Because, like, I know you're talking about which group you're talking about, and they've got probably some of the best looking tracks out there. But if I have to make a suggestion, they need to put paint grip on the inside line of Phoenix. Like, inside line, I mean, like, along the wall, so we could all pull Corey Himes on lap one.
Maybe, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got for today's episode. Josh, floor is yours. You got anyone you want to shout out? Feel free to.
Yeah. If you want to race with me, you should join the NNSCRA guys. We put on some special events during the year like Holodega, and I know we do a Daytona race and maybe some other things. Um, then we're racing IBOS on Wednesdays. Nick Gunther runs that league. Um, I'll be racing Maverick this week. It's Martinsville. It's going to be awesome. We need to have 40 people show up so that it is a complete and total mess. We need there to be somebody who's like 10 laps down and is getting in the way of Jack Merkel trying to win the race.
Oh,
So,
you know what's funny is you bring that up, and I'm just thinking. Um, I know Bristol is probably pretty quick, but I remember when we ran the Glen, I was like, okay, it took 10 laps to get to Mark Snyder. That's not awful. And then you think about Martinsville, and it's like, well, it'll probably take 10 laps at Martinsville too, but that's like 3 minutes. Watkins Glen 10 laps was like 10 minutes.
yeah,
The
yeah,
length and everything,
no,
but
I'm sure we'll be lapping people on lap 5. That's my number.
Absolutely.
Because not only is this restart going to be crazy where, we're going to be way more spread out than we should be, but someone's going to spin the tires on the restart in turn 3 and they're going to loop it and they're going to get lapped on lap 3. So that's my guess.
There are what,
My
two
guess is
races
lap 5.
left? Two races
There's
left?
3 races left. We've got
Three.
Martinsville, Phoenix, and Homestead.
Man, you're making me want to show up for Homestead now because there's only two hobo races left. I could show up for Homestead, but I don't know, man. I didn't like how that race went last year, so I'm probably
I
gonna
thought it
just
went
call it.
great. I
Three
thought it went
three game
great.
crashes? No, 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 thank you.
All that matters is on the last game crash, I was in the lead. So
Right. Well, I like saving my replays if I'm gonna be in the lead when the game crashes. I want to have that replay.
I've got JTN, right? They're my replay.
All right, I guess so. Yeah. But yeah, any other shout outs? I kind of cut into you there. Anybody that might be interested in coming on, who's that driver that I have not already had on as a guest? I think there are only a handful NNSURA guys left now to get on here.
That's true. I think you should see if you could get um Tate or Keith on. I think they would be real real fun to have on the show.
So I
Um
asked Keith, and Keith said, "Oh, I don't have much to talk about. It would only be like 30 minutes." And he'd be like, "I guess I could do that." And then
well, you can get him on
Tate,
for 30 minutes and then he'll end up being on for like 2 hours.
I think I asked Tate, and I think he said he's been busy. I don't remember if I asked Tate or not. I might not have. Or no, Tate said I can come on if you need somebody, and then we never figured out hours or anything. So I think Tate will come on at some point. But yeah, I tried getting Keith on, and he said it would be short. And I was trying to get Matt Moss on, and he wasn't really interested in maybe coming on. He likes listening, but he wasn't sure about coming on as a guest.
Yeah. I mean, you could also should get Trey Kinsey on the show.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Be like, all right, Trey, how many people do you want to talk smack about today? I don't know if he would actually do that or not, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, maybe one day.
I'm sure if you need more content, we could talk about the events that happened at one time in Maverick
Mm,
and we can air it all out if you want.
oh boy, maybe. But yeah, so that's Who's That Driver, episode 25. Thank you, Joshua Mercurio, for coming on. Actually, random question. Um, I'm assuming there's no relation and it's just coincidental, same last name, but did you ever hear of Brian Mercurio?
Yes, I've heard of him. I know that he's quite the iRacer right now, but we have no relations that I know of.
No relation. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think so. Because I feel like if you came in, someone would have been like, "Oh, do you know a Brian Mercurio?" And you probably would have answered it with like, "Oh yeah, that's my older brother." But no, that's not the case. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we're unrelated.
all right, yeah, kind of funny. But yeah. So we'll see who comes on here for episode 26. Not sure who that will be. Hopefully, I can maybe get an episode out for next week too, just to kind of recap the fast finale, the fuel finale, stuff like that. So we'll see who I can't maybe get on this thing. I'm sure I'll think of somebody.
And
So
and Denny's championship win. You got to recap that
yes,
too.
yes, yes. We gotta talk about the Zilich title and the Denny title as long as they happen. Um, hopefully no controversy either. I heard they
Yeah,
were.
gosh.
I don't know what they ended up saying to him, but Connor Mosak did get called to the hauler last night. Him, his spotter, and his crew chief because they told him to get the pit road for his left front tire because they could tell it was gonna blow and he didn't, and then it brought out a yellow with two to go and almost cost Heim the championship. So
Yeah. And put Ankrum back in the mix there for, half a second too.
he was in the mix, man. I don't think he was ever in the mix. Sorry to say, but
Well, it was his first time being top 10 all night.
Yeah,
It was after his teammate crashed on purpose, so or allegedly. But yeah.
allegedly. But all right, yeah. Thanks again for coming on, and thanks to everybody who listens. We'll see what the video title for this one is. I don't have one in my head just yet, but once again, thank you, Josh, for coming on. This was Who's That Driver, episode 25.